Hey, this is Sonic from Australis. You're listening to The Center Ring.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello. Hello and welcome. Welcome back to another edition of The Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast. Episode 153 coming to you live, pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date, April 15th, 2019. The time, 8:48 p.m. Central Standard Time. And this just might be the best episode ever because we got esports drama, everyone. Everyone loves esports drama, as Astralis is playing favorites, or at least being accused of playing favorites. So we'll talk about that as they pick and choose what tournaments to attend. We're also going to introduce a brand new segment called Esports Radar, where we will spend the time talking about games on the horizon to keep an eye out for if you are looking for the next big esport. What games should you start playing right now to try and have the best chance of going pro? Because getting that beta, boy, because that's how it's done. If you are watching on Twitch, which you can watch it, twitch.tv/thecentering, you will see that there's only two of us today. It is myself, Tim. I will be your captain for this journey into esports. Hello. You can follow me on Twitter @PirateMushroom. And my co-pilot for this evening is Anuj. Hello, Anuj.
What's up, bud?
What is up? What's up?
Man, I'm
Thank you for joining me
feeling
today.
feeling a little old today, dude. I got called out for all the grays in my beard. I don't know if you can see them or not.
You do
but
have a little gray.
This whole area is going gray on me.
Just get some... What's the thing Emmett Smith uses? Gray Be Gone or whatever it's called.
Ravy gone.
I don't know what it's called.
Rogaine? No.
I
not
really
Rogaine.
I don't have to worry about that. So I've never really had to worry about gray hair.
Wait till it starts coming into your stash.
There you go. Brett is not here. He had his kids' soccer practice he had to coach. So, you know, I think it's disgusting personally that he would put his children over our listeners, over the show itself.
Dude, practice? We're talking about practice?
His kid's not going pro. Like, why is he wasting time?
Depends on, I mean, yeah, I guess you got Brett's genes, so.
Have you seen Brett? No, yeah, he's not going pro. Get him on video games. Before we get into the show, let's pimp out the socials, though. Again, I'm @PirateMushroom on Twitter. If you care, Anuj is @Spiffy_VR. The show, more importantly, is @TheCenterRing. Follow that to get all the updates on the show. Our website, tcr.gg, has all of the links to YouTube, which has our normal podcast and a couple of extra ones on there that we do periodically. And our Discord. Of course, join our Discord. Tons of people in there. Be part of that conversation. That's it. Korea in the chat. Hello, sir. Crystal in the chat. Hello, ma'am. How are you? How are you today? Be a part of the chat. Of course, you can watch us on Twitter. Yeah, I guess Twitter. That's Periscope. Through Watch Phantom. Facebook, if I can ever learn how to get it to work on a consistent basis, and Twitch and all that fun stuff. But enough about that. Let's get into today's show because there's a ton of things to get to, including quite a busy e-news segment for once. Normally there's not a whole lot this time of year. But I wanted to get into this first, Anuj, and that is the hot topic for CSGO as of late, and that is Astralis being accused, and I say that because they haven't really ever came out and said it, nor will they ever, but right now we can speculate, because that's the business of a talk show, is speculation. And that is, are they playing favorites when picking tournaments? Recently, it was announced that Cloud9 is the final invitee for DreamHack Masters coming up here in Dallas. I will be there. Anuj will not.
Unfortunately.
You have a
Family wedding.
Family wedding to go to.
Wedding.
Can't get out of that.
Yep. Engagement. Psh, I would have been there. Winning a
so
little tougher.
so we will be there. At least Brett and I and some other buddies will be there. So if you're going to DreamHack Dallas, let us know. But to the point, Cloud9 was the final invitee, which raised a bunch of alarms because Astralis is not going to be there. And this is not like your normal DreamHack Austin, where unless it's a Masters, DreamHacks are really kind of tier 2 events. You're going to get some of your big teams there. But as far as like top bill teams, top 5, all of the top 5 there, not going to get it.
No.
But typically for
You'll
Masters,
get like
you
one or
did.
two good teams. Yeah, for Masters, you definitely
Yeah.
did. Masters was always like a premier event for DreamHack. So, and you saw it, take place in like Stockholm. Like a lot of their big events are generally European for the DreamHack event. So it was
Mhm.
nice to have a
Well, that's the
Masters.
whole reason they moved it to Dallas too, right? Because the Dallas
Yeah,
Convention Center is like twice the size of the Austin Convention Center. So they always wanted to make it a Masters. They just needed to go to a bigger place.
find the spot. Yeah. No, it's disappointing because now we're seeing a handful of tournaments, like you mentioned. IEM Sydney, they're not going to be attending. DreamHack, they're not attending. They obviously didn't attend Star Ladder, so it does come into question. Like, hey, what are y'all doing? Like, y'all are the number one team. You're obviously getting invites to the tournament, right? Like, they turned
Right,
down the
right.
DreamHack Masters. It's not like they weren't invited. We say Cloud9 was the last invitee, and that's because they turned them down ultimately. So,
Right. And that's one thing too,
yeah,
because I saw comments and posts about that saying like, I can't believe they're not having Astralis there. That's a mistake. Listen,
please,
they're
please.
not inviting the number 1 team in the world. You're not going to not invite the former major winner. I don't care what size of tournament you think you are. You're going to invite them on the off chance they might say yes. And if you're a DreamHack Masters, you're definitely inviting Astralis.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way you're having a tournament without Astralis being on the invite list. Even if you think they're going to say no, you're
Right.
sending them an invite, right? So, I mean, what do you think? Do you think they're playing favorites?
So where this all kind of really got kicked off, right, is best friend of the show. I mean, just swell guy. He always checks in on us. Zonic, coach of Astralis, as you heard him introduce the show today. Um, went on Twitter and kind of went back and forth with Sadakis, because Sadakis was one of the original people to kind of call him out on. It's really convenient that you're not going to any other tournament other than Blast Pro, which is, oh, by the way, put on by your sponsor, right? Like, that's really convenient that
Yeah.
travel is okay and taking that time is okay, but the other tournaments, not so much. And Zonic came out and said it. And to be fair, Astralis isn't the only one. Navi has announced that they're skipping some events here and there to take time off. And if you recall, this isn't out of Astralis's like MO. They've skipped tournaments in the past. What was it before the Boston Major?
Well, like they
They
did
typically take time off.
WESG and like there've been a handful of events that they skipped, but a lot of it's related to like they say devices health issues, right? That's kind of
Yeah.
what you're hearing. If it's not a travel related reason, it's something with devices health. Now I don't know what his health issues are. I don't know how serious they are. I know he's had some issues, but um they continue to put it on that, so it's so hard
Yeah.
to like really say anything when that's your reason. Like, what do you say? Nope, put him in
Right.
jeopardy.
He's fine. Get over it.
He's fine.
Get over it, device. I'm assuming if you had to say health issues in travel, what? He probably just he gets sick a lot when traveling, which hey, I'm guilty of that, right? I travel, I come back from vacation and I'm probably in bed the next couple of days just from being sick from being on a plane. So I get that. I think it's both of two worlds, right? I think it can be a little bit of both. I think that yes, obviously they're playing favorites by picking the Blast Pro series to go into. Um, that's what you're going to do when you have a sponsor that hosts a tournament, right? Like that's the name of the game. Your sponsor
Yeah.
hosts a tournament, you're going to that tournament, like regardless. But at the same time, I buy it that they want to have time to rest. And you know what? If some of these tournaments and the scheduling doesn't line up properly, we've always talked about on the show, Anuj, how these players and teams and talent, right? I don't want to just think that it's just the players traveling to these events, talent and the broadcast crew and everything. They're overworked. And, if they want to take a tournament off, Astralis doesn't need the DreamHack Masters tournament, right? They are number
No.
one in the world. They have plenty of money. They don't. It's it's not like, guys, we got to get this for experience. They're the number one team in the world. What experience are they going to get?
Look, they're like Tiger Woods in that sense, right? They're playing for majors at this point. They're
Right.
not playing to win the small, one-off weekend tournaments. So I did see Device released a twit long, and it was about his health issues, just to kind of give the
It's
listeners an
official
idea.
drama when someone tweets a twit longer.
Yeah, I mean, and so he said it's an ongoing issue as a result of like severe stress-induced irritable bowel syndrome and acid reflux, which caused him to change his lifestyle significantly and often flares up when he was traveling and plays a lot.
Bro, if I had
So
that, I'd be done for. If every time I got stressed out, I had irritable bowel syndrome,
it'd be game over.
I would be gone. I wouldn't have time to do anything.
Show would start 30 minutes later than normal. Like it would be
Every
bad.
time my wife asks where we want to go to
Yeah.
eat dinner, I'd just be like, ah, gotta
Look,
go.
there's two completely different sides to this, right? So one of the things is the rumors that you and I had discussed earlier. It does sound like Blast Pro is putting on a much larger event, right? Like this is leading
Yeah.
to a bigger, high paying event. Rumors are like 500K is kind of what I'm seeing, right? Um, and these Blast Pro weekend events that we're seeing are like, I believe they're 250K events, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken. So the money is pretty good to kind of follow this line because that is a bigger tournament than IEM Sydney. That is a bigger prize pool than I believe DreamHack Masters, if I'm not mistaken. So one could say, hey, well, they're picking like the bigger prize pool events. Wouldn't that be the smarter thing to do? The problem is it's all under one group of Blast Pro, right? So
Mhm.
it's
And
gonna
that's really
look
what the
negative.
discussion is, right? Because I
Yeah,
know, like Zonic brought up the fact, like, well, we just want to take time off and travel sucks. And Sadakis retorted with, so you're picking 2-day tournaments? Because Blast Pro are only 2 days, right? They end on Saturdays compared to Sundays, like other
yeah,
tournaments. And I was like, okay, I understand that, right? If you're going to go traveling someplace, typically, like, they're probably there, what, 4 or 5 days if they're there for a 2-day tournament. So it's just not as worth it. But in that sense, you're still, though, like, I saw Tarek tweet out earlier today saying, like, our 1 month journey is done. I'm finally back home. Like, he's been away from home for a month, whether it be
it's
traveling
crazy.
or
Yeah,
boot camping somewhere at a team house. So I'm like, yeah, a quick turnaround for a 2-day tournament might suck in the long run, but you're not away from home for weeks at a time, you know? So it's like there is that difference, I think.
well, even with these weekend events, like you're mentioning, like you said, Blast is 2 days compared to DreamHack Masters, which is a 6-day event, And Zonic referenced that in his reply to Thorin that, hey, these events are much shorter travel time. We don't have to do the same sort of media days, all these other things that can cause a certain level of stress or just, irritation if you're having to do it for 2 or 3 days at a time. Um, I think ultimately it's going to be a catch-22 for them because whenever they attend event, everyone's like, man, Astralis is here. They're just going to win. Like, it's going to be boring. What's the point in watching? And then they
Right.
don't go to an event and it's like, oh, the best team in the world is not here. It's a
What's
crap
the point
event,
of this, right?
Yeah, like, what's the point of this event if Astralis is not here? So it is tough for them. I think it does look bad. I mean, to not go to any other event besides the Blast events, which I thought, the Blast events, they do a good job, right? Like, I think we
Yeah.
all agree that they put on a good show. I think what they do need to do is go back to a little bit more traditional formatting in their tournaments. Right now, it does feel like a gimmicky tournament, the way it's structured and the way
Right.
this kind of pool play works until you get to the finals and no true playoff. It doesn't feel like it, at least that way to me. It just feels like one kind of long event, and then boom, you have two teams in the final all of a sudden.
Right.
So I think if they want to be more legitimate and get catch the attention a little bit more of everybody, you go to a more traditional format. At least then, if Astralis is only going to those events, it's in events that tend to feel a little bit more upscale in terms of how they're structured.
Yeah, and I think the other thing about this situation is I think it kind of is opening up the eyes for other tournament organizers and scaring them a little bit, right? Because this is something that we've discussed on the show that it's bound to happen in every successful esport, right? You're going to get teams that get locked into contracts that, hey, DreamHack is paying us to play at their tournaments and not ESL's. And we've seen it kind of rear its head and kind of poke up in the past, and it's been quickly swatted down, right? Like, man, what was it? I forget what it was even called, like the North American Players Association or whatever, like the team
Yeah.
group. What was it called?
I know what you're talking about.
Man, it came and went before, like so fast. I forget what it was
Their
called.
first tweet was the tweet that ended it for him, pretty much.
Right?
It was
Yeah, and because they tried doing those tournament locks, right? It's like, hey, our teams are going to go to sanctioned tournaments, and everyone's like, hold up, those aren't sanctioned tournaments; those are paid, sponsored tournaments by you. Like, what are you talking about? So, and I do think though that now that franchising is a little bit more not welcomed, but we've dipped our toes in the water in franchising and esports, right? We're not as afraid of it as once before. Companies are realizing that they can get away with it now. I do think like you have people out there like, dude, DreamHack Masters for the longest time was like a very prestigious tournament, right? It's almost like a IEM 1 event, where
because it was one of the few events at the time, right? Like it was.
Yeah.
There was only limited people doing it. Now, like you said,
Right.
anybody
But
can go in and
I
host.
do think like we often talk on the show about how prize pool doesn't mean everything for a tournament. Like sometimes the tournament is just prestigious enough to get by on the name alone.
Agreed.
And
Yeah.
winning a DreamHack Masters event, I felt carried that weight of like, oh wow, you won a DreamHack Masters event. That's a big tournament throughout the year.
It would be like them not attending Cologne, right? Like
Yeah.
ESL one Cologne and just them not showing up. Like that would be kind of a slap in the face. And I'm sure DreamHack feels that way. Like I don't doubt that they feel that way, but at the same time, Astralis is still playing in the they're playing in ECS every season. They're going to be playing in EPL this season. They're going to attend both majors. They're going to play in the 5 or 6 Blast Pro events. They're going to play in ESL one Cologne. So there's still like half, more than half the season we'll get to see them. I just think that they didn't do a good job in picking which, like DreamHack Dallas should have been a gimme. If it's a Masters event, they should have been there. But in terms of, I guess the money is there. The money is not going to be at the other event, 6 days travel versus 2 days. Like they have an excuse, I guess is what I'm saying. Like it doesn't bother me as much if his health issues are as rough as they say they are. It's just really hard to push back on it.
I agree. I mean, typically for longtime listeners of the show, I mean, me. I typically side with organizers, and I typically think players and teams have too much say at times. But for here, does it suck that they're not coming to Dallas? Of course, right? Would I love to go watch Astralis? Yeah, of course I would love to go watch Astralis. But I'm also not upset Cloud9's going to be there. I think it was a smart idea to invite the local NA team. But look, Astralis is number 1 in the world. I think people trying to dictate, well, this is going to ruin them now. Like, let's pump the brakes. All right, let's
going to be all right.
Pump the brakes. All right,
Yeah.
I would love to get upset and riled up about this, but really, I don't think Astralis is 100% in the wrong here. Now, what might suck is, like I said, the ripple effect of this, where maybe, because God knows esports is just a bunch of cliques, right? Especially the CSGO scene. It's just a bunch of little high school clubs and cliques and all that. If all of a sudden DreamHack is like upset and then they purposely, maybe they don't invite them to the next DreamHack event, or, this trickles out to other teams saying no to Blast Pro, because it's like, all right, well, if you're going to steal the best teams just for your little, 6-man tournament, well, then we're not going to your tournament. We're going to give these guys who have respected us for years, we're going to give them our time. We're not going to give Blast Pro time or whatever, right? Hypothetically speaking, but I could see it in that scenario.
Yeah. I mean, they would never do it that way in the sense of, hey, let's not go to Blast Pro, just because Blast Pro is like a big event now. Mm-hmm. Like it's legit, and it's run by people in the industry. I think the trickle down effect here is just the backlash that they're getting and how it affects them in the point standings, right? If you're not playing in as many events, you don't accumulate as many points. So ultimately, they could lose their number one ranking by making these types of decisions long term. I think that's what would get them. Not every team, I guess, has the ability to do what they're doing.
Right.
Not every
Do you
team
think
is
they
number
care about
one,
that?
having the number one ranking.
Yeah. Like
Oh
it,
yeah, very much so. I think it's a big
so,
deal.
so let me ask you this though. They lose the number 1 spot because of inactivity, yet they still win the tournaments that they're in.
If they keep winning the majors, I don't think if they just win Blast Pro, people are going to sit there and be like, "Oh, that's like if they lost
Right.
the major and all they attended was Blast Pro events."
Right. And I mean
Um,
that's not even a guarantee considering they played poorly at Miami. They did
yeah,
not
like
perform well.
so if they're not going to consistently win these few events that they're in, they're going to lose the number one ranking, which in turn they will attend more events. Because yes, I do think the number one ranking means a lot. I think that means the most out of everything, more than you know. Yes, it's great to win ECS or it's great to win, Pro League. Like all of that stuff is really good, but I think the trash talking comes in with like where you like we're the number one team in the world and we hold that ranking for a reason. If you win at the major, you get X number of points. Like it all comes from it's all earned, I guess is what I'm saying. You don't get to
Right.
number one by a fluke. You do see those periodic jumps, right? From 15 to 7 or something like that. But if you're number one, you're there because you truly are the best team.
Agreed. Agreed. So it'll be interesting to see though. If there is any type of fallout for this or truly any backlash, or will this just be something that everyone kind of ignores when they start going to another event and winning it? Does anyone care? We'll see. That's what we'll have to see. And speaking of seeing, let's get into the brand new segment that we're going to call Esports Radar. But in typical TCR production, we thought of this in the pre-show meeting and didn't have time to get production value. So maybe the next time this comes up, we'll have some production value. But for now,
I thought of like a periscope or like the radar doot,
we could do
doot, doot,
right.
kind of sound like going while we were announcing the segment, like something
If
cool like that.
if my laptop was any faster, but I'm using a 2011 Mac, I could pull it up real quick and just get something off the internet. But let's see here. I don't think it's going to happen. In fact, I'm worried that I'm just going to freeze up my entire laptop by trying to do this. So, in the meantime, let's get into the point of the discussion in this segment of Esports Radar. What it is that we are just going to talk of some topics about things that you, as an esports fan, should keep on your radar. Real original, I know.
I love it.
And this is whether it's just a game coming up. It could be games that we've discussed in the past or anything like that. And I will ask you, the listener, if there is anything on your radar that we don't talk about. I would love to hear, what that game is or event or something along those lines. Because the beauty of esports is no matter how big it gets, there will always be grassroots for new games. So regardless of anything, you have that. I'm almost getting it. It's just taking so long to load. There we go. That's production
That's
for you.
beautiful.
Production 101. That's awful. I'm going to turn that down. That was a terrible idea. That's what we get for trying to put effort into the show for once in production value. We're just going to ignore all that happened. I'll edit in post-production. No one will know that we wasted time on it. It's beautiful. We'll work on it. But I did want to bring up this first one for Esports Radar because it was always on my radar since DreamHack Austin of last year when I got into the alpha and we tested it out there. But now that I really got to sit down and play it for the first time, like throughout a whole weekend testing, I was really, really, really happy with it. It's called Splitgate Arena Warfare. Do you remember this last year at DreamHack Austin?
I do, and then I watched you stream it this weekend. Also, I didn't go and register there, but yes, I mean I remember it, but not like I knew it was like Halo-esque kind of
Yeah, so
game.
think of like Halo. It's on the PC first of all, but
Hmm.
it feels like Halo mixed with Portal.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
exactly, it looked like Halo mixed with
Yeah.
Portal.
Yeah, I mean, and that's exactly what it looks like. And in fact, I think from even like early alpha or last year at DreamHack, they were pretty much using Halo models. Like the guns and everything were just, I mean, it was a battle rifle from Halo, and now they've kind of redesigned it a little bit. It just went into beta. I think it's in beta 0.002, so whatever that equates to, it's very early on. Clearly, it's in the second patch of the beta. But dude, it played smooth. Obviously some bugs here and there. Obviously some things need to be balanced out and worked on. One map I find is really irritating for some of the map designs, but you can also tell that they pretty much took Halo maps and just tweaked it a little bit. Like they're
Yeah, because
Halo
they have
maps.
that Portal aspect to it, right? So,
Right.
but yeah,
But it's great. I mean, you played with the momentum, like in Portal, right? If you jump into it, you're going to carry your momentum through the next portal. I'll tweet out. I put it in our Discord, but I'll tweet out on our at TC or at the Center Ring on Twitter some gameplay of me because I was streaming it over the weekend on the Center Ring's Twitch page, and man, you can see you can get pretty nutty with some of these portals. And in a fight, if you're like quick and thinking about it, dude, I was fighting. These guys were fighting me. It was a 2-on-1. I put a portal on this wall in front of me and another one behind them. They didn't notice I did it, so I was like trying to just kind of dance around the corner, put a portal in, jumped through the portal, went behind them. They had no idea, and I killed both of them.
it looked fun. Like I was watching you
Yes.
play. I'll tell you, my only concern is that it's going to release sometime near Halo, is my guess, based on where they're at in their beta cycle. Like,
Right.
I mean, assuming we think Halo comes out in the next 6 months roughly, and
Right.
these guys will probably do the same. I definitely think it's one to keep on the radar because again, it looked cool. It looked like it played well. I
Yeah,
kind of
like I
wish I had
said,
gone in there.
for very very early on beta, it played really. And once I got like the hang of it, the first couple of games I was like, man, this is frustrating, but I don't think I was using my portals enough. As soon
Yeah,
as you learned like, oh, I could just like, if you even just see a sliver of a wall you can put the portal on, you can get it in there and then like quickly move around the map. I can only imagine too, because I was solo queuing, right? And they don't have in-game voice yet, so you would have to use like Discord or something to use it on. Uh, with a team, like any shooter or any game with team and communication, I think it would be much better. But very pleasantly surprised also. Something that this game has that other games that have been asking for years. Overwatch
I know,
doesn't have it at all.
I know what you're
Counter-Strike
gonna
has a
say.
very shaky thing for it. And then Call of Duty, I think, has some variation of it. But this is smooth. It is a video on demand replay in the game. You don't have to get third party. You don't have to do anything. And you what? You pull it up, you can save it. Inside, you can fast forward, you can rewind, you can switch to different players' POVs, you can slow it down, speed it up like double speed. It's the
Just all really
smoothest.
nicely built in. Yeah,
It really is. It's like the smoothest playback feature. And I'm like, dude, right there, you are going to get right off the bat teams using that, and you're going to see the play of that game look so much more advanced because you're going to have guys who really use that to watch tape and work on strats and stuff if the game gets to that point. Now, it's a fun game, but that doesn't mean it can't be ruined by a bad launch. I have no idea if the game's going to be free to play. If it's coming out around Halo, you almost feel like it needs to because it's only going to be multiplayer. They're going to have skins in the game from what I can tell. So maybe that's how they make revenue. That is all very up in the air. I haven't really done much research as far as that goes with the game. I'm just going off of what I played this weekend. Splitgate Arena Warfare is definitely at the top of my list.
why is there not a popular arena shooter right now?
Maybe that's a discussion for another time because I grew up with arena shooters. I think
Yeah,
everyone really
we
did.
did.
Like that was kind of the thing to play was arena shooters. And really what? Halo was kind of the last of its kind, right?
Really the only one that kind of survived as long as it did too, though. Most arena shooters think back and try to think of some that really had some longevity to it, like an Unreal Tournament kind of
Yeah.
comes to mind. Obviously, Quake comes to mind. Both games no longer really. Quake has a scene. I get it; it's there, but in terms of relevancy, it's not
Right.
much. Um, they don't seem to stick, and so that would be my only hesitation is like, what are they gonna do? Is it just gonna be like it needs to just be a great game? Like maybe we just haven't had a great game that's done it in a long time. I know
Hmm.
people have tried and failed. And so between this and Halo, it looks like we at least have two promising
Right.
options and kind
I
of see
think
what they
one of
bring to
the
the
things
table.
too, and I don't want to get too bogged down on it, but you know what? Let's do this so we can actually not get bogged down on it, but also move on to the next game. Is Halo PC is rumored that the beta is going to start like within the month or maybe
Yeah.
next month. So that's moving a lot faster than what everyone thought, considering they never really gave it a release date for the game. For it to turn around and say, hey, the beta is going to be within the month or so, put a lot of surprise to me. So I got the invite to the Insider. Obviously, that doesn't mean anything, but hopefully I get in the beta. Or maybe I can ask some people who know some people to get me in that beta. I'll pull some strings to do that. Um, but, let's continue the discussion of uh, no matter how good Halo is, it's an arena shooter, and is that just not viable as a esport or as a game anymore? I will say my first initial like I love them because it involves heavy map control, right? Because you have the weapons you have to spawn on, or at least like control. The thing with Splitgate is it does have like the maps, the guns on the maps, right? So if you control one side of the map, you might be able to control the sniper rifle or the shotgun or the rocket. The big thing there is that they do have timers at that spawn, so you at least know when they spawn, right? Like if you're like, all right, we have 30 seconds, but in 30 seconds we got to come back here. So that might help the more casual player. But like with Halo, it was so obvious that if you were playing against one or two people who knew the timers, like when I played Halo, I had a clipboard with a piece of paper that had all the weapons with their timers on it. And anytime I picked up a weapon and then I would, you use it and then you would drop it, that's when the timer would start for it to respawn. I would click a button on the timer so it would start counting down. So I knew it instantly. All right, we got 2 minutes until the sniper comes back up. And that's how me and my friends, then my team, quote unquote, at the time would play. When we went to LAN parties, we had one of our friends who played but wasn't good, and we had a coach behind us with that clipboard keeping track of all of our gun timers.
Do you want it to be that way though?
Me personally, yes, because I love the competitiveness in it, right? To me, that was competition. That was learning the game inside and out and taking it to that next level. That being said, I think that's also a learning curve for the casual fan to be like, these guys are just stomping us. Why are they stomping us? And it's because, they just they know the game, right? Arena shooters are not like your others. You can't just outshoot someone. It also takes knowledge of map control.
I'm like really excited about Halo, but I'm also hesitant to like think it's going to do really well. I'm excited because I know it's going to bring a lot of nostalgia back. I wasn't a huge Halo player, but I played it a lot because all my friends had Xboxes. I used to go over there and play it, so I enjoyed it. And I'm just excited to kind of experience it on PC the way I think it should have been experienced from the get go.
Right.
But at the same time, I am really nervous that it's going to just be a really fun cat. I shouldn't say really nervous. I just don't know if it's going to be an esports game. Like it's going to pick up traction all of a sudden. Halo's back, baby. Like I don't think that's going to happen either. I think it's going to have like a fun competitive scene. And I think it'll draw in a wider audience. And I think that's all pushing towards Halo Infinite possibly being that game.
Mm-hmm.
Where maybe that's the game that brings Halo into the esports scene because it's new. I have a hard time envisioning a remake coming back and all of a sudden the remake is now the esports game. I would like to
I
think
wouldn't
that
have
would
hard time
happen.
believing that had Infinite not be announced. You know what I'm saying? Like I it could be super. It could be a wide success, but for how long? Like, how much does Microsoft or 343 want to put into a game when they know a new one's going to come out? That's really the game they want people to take over. Or at this point, do they even care? Would they just be happy with Halo? Because I mean, they play old
Like, you want
Halos
people
at
to play
tournaments, right?
Infinite though. Yeah, but you want them to be playing like the new game, right? It's kind of a slap in the face if a new game comes out and it's like, okay, let's go back to Halo 3. This one isn't
Well, I mean, but that's what
comparable
they
to
did with
that,
Halo 5.
No, but I don't think that they're necessarily proud of that. I think that's just because Halo 5 wasn't as good as Halo 3,
Right, right,
not because, people like just not because they were just like, "Eh,
right.
they're
But
about the same. Let's go do
I could
this
see
one."
them being willing though to go back, right? Like they might try one season in Infinite. If it sucks or if people aren't liking it as much, then they're like, all right, we need to go back to 3. We'll fund a league or, you know, let other organizers take it over, right? Maybe DreamHack can throw on events or things like
But
that.
then it would be what it is now. Like, it's nothing to get excited about from an esports perspective, right? Like, it would just be kind of have a
Yeah,
small scene. It's not gonna be anything big at that point if that's what happens to
right.
it.
Like I said,
I
I
think
guess
the other
I'll hold results because the PC, right? You just don't know what kind of crowd that's going to bring in.
You don't. It can bring in a whole new audience and just like flourish on it. My other concern is that they're releasing so many in a short period of time. So I
Right,
also think that's going to be an issue to, hey, how do we get people to like funnel into this one game? And now this is the game because people will all have their favorites. People are going to be excited to go do the campaign missions and just kind of get back into each one as they're coming out. So I do see a large percentage moving from game to game to game to game as they release them over the next 6
right.
months to 1 year leading up to Infinite's release. And so that's what I think will ultimately happen with Halo, and if we want Halo in the esports scene, we really have to hope it's Infinite. Um, I think these are just gonna be great to go and play with your friends and enjoy and bring back some good memories, and then, if people love it enough, Halo Infinite will do well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see for sure because we really just don't have anything to go off of on a game doing it that way.
Yeah.
Because even then,
Excited,
like,
though, excited
yeah,
as can
because
be for it.
it's just kind of gamers' nature to, no matter how how much you like the old game, you always just go to the new one, right?
It's
So
prettier, right? It's a
yeah,
prettier new toy to play with, and
apart
so
from like Smash Melee, like you can, I mean, up until Ultimate, I feel like Ultimate might be have already leapfrogged that scene as far as size and interest goes. But there's really not a whole lot of games. I mean, look at Call of Duty. How many times do the players say the new Call of Duty sucks and Black Ops 2 was the best one so far? And yet, no one's playing Black Ops 2 anytime soon. So
yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how Halo at least adapts to that for sure. And the last thing that is on our esports radar for upcoming esports things, we are still waiting on Apex Legends to do something. Anything. Just do something.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, it's feeling like it sucks to say this because it's so much in its infancy right now. It's only been, what, 2 months maybe that it's
Yeah.
been out roughly? Um, It's starting to feel a little stale already, though, for me personally, right? Like, I think the game is a lot of fun. The gunplay is a lot of fun. I don't think there's still enough characters in the game. I felt like they should have launched with like double the amount of characters. They really like had an opportunity to take off early with it. I don't think the plan was, hey, every month we're going to have a huge release within our game. But when you saw the popularity from day one, and you saw the numbers just skyrocket. What was it, like 50 million? I think it was like unique
Right.
players had signed up within 24 or 48 hours or whatever it was. Like at that point, your game plan really needed to change. Like, oh man, we got something here. Like this could be a gold mine and a cash cow for Respawn EA. Had they like understood, okay, it's peaking now, it's peaking early, like we need to move our plans up. Instead, they did a season 1 launch, which was quite underwhelming. Um, they haven't announced any sort of, upcoming esports event other than what you're seeing on the Code Red and the Twitch Rival stuff, which doesn't necessarily
Right.
get
And like
people
even
excited. Like
esports
it's
stadium in Arlington is doing Apex
a little
events and
like
stuff.
I'm sure
But
there's a bunch of places doing little side off things, but like I'm
right.
talking about like um Respawn or EA's got so much money, like so much money, dude. These guys are
Right.
sitting on a gold mine. Pull a little bit out, like set up something. Like I just feel like they're moving a little bit slow for my liking. I still think the game has a ton of potential, but it's undoubtedly lost momentum. It's not where it was a month ago. It's not even close to where it was, in the first 2 weeks of launch. And they're only like I feel like slowly going the other way. And so you see that kind of in Twitch numbers and my friends, like the number of my friends that are actively playing the game from where we were 3 weeks ago. Like
Right.
it's a pretty good indicator of I feel like the direction it's heading currently, and it can change quick.
Oh, I mean, what announce one thing like Fortnite, how they do with their what do they call them?
World
Like
Cups or
not World Cups, but like the
skirmishes,
fall
fall
skirmishes and things like
skirmish.
that, right?
Yep,
Just announce
yep.
something along those lines and see how fast people are like, oh, all right, I'm back in. So
Content
that
is
though,
everything, though.
yeah, it truly is. So those are the things on our esports radar. Again, if you have anything on your esports radar for upcoming games or games that you think might be the next big esports thing, let us know on Twitter at the Center Ring. But for now, let's get into some e-news because there's quite a bit to get to. We talked a little bit about it before, but Blast Pro Series Miami wrapped up over the weekend with not Astralis, not Navi, not Team Liquid, but FaZe Clan winning it all. FaZe Clan ended up beating Team Liquid in the finals 2-0. MIBR got third, Navi got fourth, Astralis got fifth place, and Cloud9 got sixth.
Is it just me, or does Liquid always feel like they lose after FaZe gets knocked out? Like they never just go like crush the tournament once FaZe is out of the tournament, like a number 2 team
You
should
mean
do.
Astralis?
No, Liquid. Liquid always like just can't win the damn thing after Astralis lose. I always feel like
Yeah,
they
that's
lose
what.
in the
You
finals.
said FaZe getting eliminated.
Oh, sorry, Liquid.
Yeah,
Yeah, Liquid always getting eliminated in the finals. A
yeah.
little bit of an old story now for a number 2 team. Like, be number 2, act like you're number 2. Instead, they're like just number 2 because Astralis is number 1. Like,
I mean,
there's
they
like
are
nobody else.
consistently number 2.
I guess, yeah. At least they
So
do.
maybe
I
if
mean,
you
that
want to
is
look at it
true.
that way, maybe maybe it's
They
working out
don't
for
want
them.
to be number 1. Like, I don't know. They
We're just
just
comfortable at number 2. Well, no one's gonna get upset at us if we don't go to a tournament.
Yeah.
And a Cloud9 going 0-5. I saw some people try to raise the alarm for that. Man, stop. That team hasn't been together for 2 weeks. Let's not act like them going 0-5 at a Blast Pro series that probably shouldn't have been at is a big deal. So we'll
And
see.
my BR has been doing it for months. We can give Cloud9 a little bit of time.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how to say this tournament, but Charlario Esports. Have you seen this one? It was a smaller tournament. Vitality ended up defeating Sprout 2-0. G2 ended up getting third. VP was in this tournament, ended up going last, but again, it was such a small tournament. Last place was 0-2. So take it with a grain of salt. But interesting enough, VP lost to Team Gamer Legion. Cringiest name in esports, but besides that, this is also Scream and Existence' new team. So they performed okay, going 1-2 at one of their first events as a team. In Overwatch, you have Washington Justice's GM Kate Mitchell announced that she is going to retire after Stage 2. So we're 2 weeks in, so she's got about, 3 weeks left maybe? This is an interesting story that might have to be dove into later, maybe in a Table Talk episode on our YouTube page. But she was very openly part of the LGBTQXYZ community, and she is set to retire, saying that she just can't handle the toxicity anymore, especially from Reddit and Twitter. She can't handle it anymore. Sounds very sad. Little bit of a pot calling the kettle black effect here, though, because she also talks smack to everyone. So I understand that there are probably very much more inappropriate things said to her, but, I don't know. You're the GM of a team. I don't know what to tell you. Guy or girl, you're probably going to take it in the shorts, especially if your team is the Washington Justice. And let's face it, you're not that good. So she is set to retire after stage 2, and they will find a replacement. Won't be hard. In other news, League of Legends, you had some of their spring events wrap up. LES Spring 2019 G2 ended up going 3-0. And LCS Spring, you had Liquid defeating TSM 3-2.
Man, there was a lot of trash talking behind that one. I don't know if you were paying attention.
I was
or
following
not,
on
but
Twitter, but I don't follow
Reginald
League
and
enough to know
Steve-
what's real and what's fake.
Man, the two owners were going back and forth. TSM called him out. It was a reverse sweep, so
Right.
it was definitely an exciting match. Those are two historic teams, and there was just, again, even between the players and all the memes that are out there of Jensen and stuff right now looking over the players. It was an exciting match. Like, it was definitely one of the better ones, and the hype lived up to the performance we saw.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Anuj. Good show today, man.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you for taking the time out for our listeners. Unlike Brett, who couldn't join us because he was too busy wasting time with his kids' soccer practice. Kid could be playing video games, going pro in esports, but he's wasting time at soccer.
I want to make my kids play a bunch of esports just so I can say I'm practicing with them.
It's practice, sweetie. I don't know what you're talking about. It's practice.
2 hours a day. Let's go.
But thank you to the listener for listening, whether you skipped around or listened to the whole darn thing. I love you all the same. If you watched on Twitch, thank you. Brett is in the chat, so he had enough time to make the Twitch chat, but he didn't have time to make the show. Interesting. We will be back next week, Monday, 8:30 p.m., around that time, as we discuss more esports goodness. What exactly? I don't know. We'll figure that out, though. That's what the whole week is for. Follow us on Twitter at @TheCenterRing if you're not already. What are you doing? Again, we stream these every Monday. Be a part of the conversation on Twitch. Twitch.tv/TheCenterRing. Get in Twitch chat. Would love to have you. But for Anuj, I'm Tim. We'll see ya.